What's going on? It's the OCPD coach, Shannon Williams, and I'm here for another video. It has been a little bit too long since I've come on my channel and made a video, and I apologize for that, but it is for good reason. You see, I've actually been trying to reach out to other individuals in different fields, some in marketing, some in video editing, some in just strictly business, and I've been actually trying to improve. I've been getting as many resources as I can, working on networking, working on trying to improve my delegation skills, really just trying to improve myself as well as this channel. With that out the way, I want to thank you all because I started this channel with 0 subscribers. My wife subscribed, obviously, and now we are sitting at about 65 subscribers as of today. Blew my mind. That was not something that I had, and that's not something I envisioned. That wasn't something that I was sitting up really just like, oh, we got to get to 50 subscribers. I'm grateful. That first and foremost, I'm grateful. The fact that you saw the channel, you saw a video, maybe it stuck with you, you decided not only to watch the video, but you decided to hit the red subscribe button means more to me than a lot of you even realize, because I've been trying to do YouTube for years and I've never had content that I felt comfortable enough with consistently putting out content about until this. So that's my little spiel. I don't even know the word for that. That's my little rant. I like that word better. Now I want to talk about what today's video is actually focused on, and that is rejection. Rejection. This is a word that typically when you hear it, you instantly go to a negative place. And of course, it can make you feel like that. I want to talk about my relationship with rejection a little bit, because my entire life, I've had rejection in different areas, but as I started getting older, I started having different opportunities. I started working on myself, and professionally, I have not dealt with a lot of rejection. So I want to fast forward to, and wow, everything's getting out of focus, but let's actually focus on my face. But a few weeks ago, let's say about 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, I've been trying to network with individuals. I was rejected. I was rejected. And this was something that came as a shock to me because conversations went well. Everything seemed like it was in order. Everything was aligned. And I was 100% expecting to be accepted into this networking program. Now, I want to talk to you about how I dealt with that rejection. And also I wanted to ask, when is the last time you dealt with rejection? Now that I've got the rejection thing kind of out there, I'll talk a little bit more about what it was. So my church buddy invited me to a networking group, it was an amazing experience. I got to go up and actually talk about OCPD for about 15 seconds, just 15 seconds. And I also got to talk about how I work with people who have traits of OCPD. This was something that was completely left field. I wasn't planning on doing it for months at a time. It was something that my buddy mentioned one time, and then the week right before, he said, hey, is this one day very early in the morning? Can you make it? I'm like, yep, I'm there. And it was amazing to just hear all of these other entrepreneurs and people who are doing things in different businesses, such as we had a lot of lawyers, legal individuals that work in the legal fields. We had people who do a lot of stuff with handiwork, and we had painters and interior designers, and my business cards. The person who made my business cards, he makes business cards, shirts, all types of things. So it was amazing just being in the room. And that was something that, with me having OCPD, I'd always struggled with connecting with other people and trying to see what we can work on together, or actually trusting people to do things for my business. I've always been the type of person where I would love to just do it all on my own. It seemed more efficient, but this route was amazing. Just being in that room with all the networking, it was empowering. So I actually applied for membership to the group, and everybody, everything seemed good. And when I got the call back, they said, hey, Shannon, we can't let you in the group right now. My heart sank a little bit, because you got to imagine, I'm sitting next to my wife, I'm feeling good, we're watching the television show, our son's running around and everything's good. But for a moment, everything seemed like it was, everything that I've been working on for the past few weeks, all the stuff I've been doing with the OCPD coaches seemed like maybe I was on the wrong track. It made me think to myself, in this moment, again, it made me think, where did I go wrong? How did I fail? Is it something personal? That was another thing. Do they look at me as a failure? Is it me? Is it just how I present myself, how I look, how I talk? All of these different things pop into my head. And of course, cordial on the phone and everything. But right when that phone call ended, I talked to my wife and I let her know I just need some time to think. Because for me, the best thing I can do is just process my thoughts and figure out what the next step is. The reason that they gave for not accepting me, by the way, is because the business is so new. So a lot of people in there are tenured people and tenured businesses, shall I say. They did not know how they could bring clients to the OCPD coach because it's such a niche thing. And the reason makes 100% sense. Most people don't even know about OCPD. So I'm on an entire journey to not only expose individuals who've never heard of OCPD to OCPD, but also work with the individuals who need the help. So for me, it's actually very fun. It's something that I always, anytime I'm in a room and I'm talking about OCPD, it feels good to see people's faces light up and say, wait a minute, that sounds like something I'm dealing with. So I'm 100% understanding of the reason, but rejection is rejection. You don't care why you got rejected. Nobody loves rejection. Now I want to talk about how you deal with the rejection. So as I mentioned, told my wife I needed some time to think. What I started doing was waking up, and this is funny, that night I went upstairs for a minute and got my thoughts right for about an hour, took some notes, and the next few mornings, even to this day, I've been getting up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. depending on the day. And the first thing I do is I try to think about what I can do today to help me not have that same rejection going forward. So the first thing I had to do was actually analyze why I was rejected. I had to see what the cause was. Was this something that was objective, where they just looked at the facts and said, hey, nope, this doesn't make sense? Or was it more subjective, and was it associated with me? So what I'm gonna do, instead of me just ranting about exactly what I did in an unformatted way, I'm actually going to let you know how to handle rejection. In better words, I'm going to give you some steps you can take if you're dealing with rejection. All right, so now let's do it. So the first thing I did, as I mentioned, was I identified why I was rejected. I had to understand why. The reason that I was rejected was because of the freshness of my business and it being such a niche audience. They didn't know how they could bring people to me. That makes sense. So I wrote that down. I wrote it down. I actually don't write it down like this. I actually type it out. So I put it inside of my Confluence page in my Jira board. And then I started to analyze myself, my business, my presentation, my spiritual life, and my networking. I basically broke it down into multiple areas. So this was the next step, which was take some time to think. So step number one, identify why you were rejected. Step number two is to take some time to think. Step number three was I actually identified how it made me feel. As I mentioned, I went down a rabbit hole for a brief second, but when I thought about it, I started to think about the fact that my business was rejected in a networking group, and it made sense. So the reason why I was rejected made 100% sense. I felt as if I belonged in that group based off of interactions with the individuals. When I lined my business up, my fresh, brand new business up to the other businesses inside of there, it did not measure up. I mean, I'm brand new. I'm still getting a lot of kinks in order. So after I did that, I started to feel better about myself, first of all, but then I also started to feel more helpful about my business and my business ideas and my business ventures. So a lot of the feelings, sometimes your feelings can get in the way. So I never like to make moves or make rash decisions just based off my decisions. but it's always for me important to at least identify my feelings so that I don't apply the anger or disappointment that I'm feeling in that moment to other areas of my life and start lashing out on my wife or my son and having a sharp tongue or any of these things. Like, that's something I'm still always, continuing to work on, but you always have to be cognizant of how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. So that was step number 3. Step number 4 was actually confirm if the rejection was valid or not. As I mentioned, I did. And sometimes when you are dealing with this, you might need an objective party. So you might need somebody that's not you, that's not them, but a third party to come in and say, hey, I was rejected for this. Does it make sense? Where would you tell me to improve? And this is where you get to the next step, which is step number 5. And this is probably one of my favorite steps. So if the rejection was valid, you actually get to see how you can improve with a detailed plan. So as I mentioned, all of those different areas of my life, I started to look at them and I started to realize you can improve everywhere. So that included me praying 5 times a week. That's something that I added on my list, and that was towards the spiritual. Another thing was my office. How can I make my office more comfortable for me when I get into my office so that my mind can be in the mindset that it's in the state of mind that it needs to be in for me to operate properly. Some other things I had were my presentation. So as a man who's doing business, I never know if I might run into a client. I never know if actually past that, it doesn't really matter what I know. I wanted to present myself in a certain light. So I actually invested in some watches because I think that adds to my style, my presence. Also, I stopped wearing just t-shirts because I would wear t-shirts a lot of times and jeans and thought everything was fine. And now I'm going to a strictly either polo or button up or a nice sweater style. Just actually developing my style. These different things, although they might seem small on the surface, when you start putting all these things together, you start to see that you can improve, and you then start to look at rejection instead of it just being a simple negative thing. You can look at rejection and say, hey, rejection, I can use you as a jumping point so that I can grow in different areas. And that is why those first 4 steps were so important. Step 5 that I'm still on with the detailed plan, it really depends on the type of rejection. I mean, if you're talking about you were rejected from a girl, maybe your steps are, I need to, work out, get in the gym, whatever it might be, or I need to invest in some better cologne or deodorant, or maybe this isn't the person and you just abort the mission all the way. But with different rejections, you're going to have different types of detailed plans. And that's why it's so important to understand why you were rejected, validate the rejection reason, and then you can come up with a plan from there. The 6th and final step was take action. This is the step I'm in right now. So for me to make my business as serious as possible, I needed to redesign my website. I needed to redesign my business cards. I needed to make sure I was actually putting more content out that would be helpful for people who might not know about OCPD. I needed to spread awareness. I needed to get all of these different things in order, not so that I can go and apply again in the future, but so I can level up myself. And there's an amazing Cody Rhodes, the wrestler. He's in WWE. He did this amazing promo, and now I'm forgetting if it was in WWE or AEW. But he said he went from undesirable to undeniable. And that's what you can allow rejection to do for you. You can either take the rejection, you can wallow in it, you can be bad, be hard on yourself and say, I'm not perfect and I couldn't do this and I was rejected, and that's natural. But after you do that, you need to figure out what steps you can take so that you don't put yourself in that situation again. It's not easy. I'm not saying it is. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I've been fasting for multiple days where I'm not eating anything just so I can hear myself better and connect spiritually better. So it does take work, but it is possible. So that's going to wrap it up. That's my video about rejection. The rejection I dealt with, ways that you can actually use rejection to grow. And if you ever want to check out any more of my videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm not sure where you might be coming from. Also, if you're interested in some coaching resources, head to theocpdcoach.com resources. Got some free documents up there. I'm also probably going to put a document up there for rejection, like an actual rejection retrospective document. Not sure it will be up when this video is up, but I'll do my best to put it in the description. So still check the description just in case I did. Another thing is, if you decide that you want to do some one-on-one coaching and maybe you can get something out of some of the strategies I'm coming up with or some of the experiences I've had in life, make sure you reach out. There's a form on the OCPDcoach.com and you can fill that form out. We'll get a call going, 1 hour conversation. We'll talk about your goals, talk about the things that you are struggling with, how long you've been struggling with them. And we'll see if we can come up with an actual plan to get you on track to where you want to go. So that's going to be it. Thank you again. Thank you for the 50 subs. I'm loving making content for you all. And if there's any content you want to see, make sure you let me know in the comments. I'm out. Make sure you fight for your life. Peace.